Hello and welcome to the Trinity Ascension Network. This is Getting to the Root. We're just going to share out quickly and we will be with everyone shortly. All right, hello and welcome to Getting to the Root. So today our guest, most of you have seen her before on live on Facebook, and she's moving over to Twitch as well. Let's welcome Tonya Lee. So welcome to the show, Tonya.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I am super excited she's here because Tonya Lee is one of my very close friends, and I am honored that she's agreed to come on here tonight so she can share a little bit of her journey with us. So Tonya Lee, why don't you tell them what you do? We'll give them a little quick synapse for us.
Okay. Well, I'm an intuitive psychic spiritual counselor. I'm a medium, remote viewer, my little spiel, automatic writer, inner child shadow worker, and life coach, in energy, angel energy healing. I do as well, and I'm just going to break out with ruins. I've been practicing those on the side, so I'm adding that. And I read charms and do bring spirit on pendulum. So a little bit of everything to some degree.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice. Actually, I was curious about the inner child shadow reading. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that's something that I think is really prevalent at the moment.
Actually, I'll meet with somebody and I'll do a deep reading with them. It's really a program that I've developed. It's a one-on-one program, and I meet with them for 2 hours, an hour, 2 times a week. And it's tailored to that person, so it's very spirit-led, meaning that once I kind of go through the initial part of it, and then I find out, well, what spirit wants you to do. So as we go through things, and I try to take you back to wherever that disconnect happened and try to go back to that, and let's start building and working our way up, because it causes a lot of breakthrough throughout our life. And just try to rebuild that, do forgiving and a lot of accountability. And it's all spirit led. There's deep homework. Spirit will tell me if the person's not really doing it. There's a lot of intimate information shared. The only thing that's the same per person is that we start with a journal and a pen, and we burn them at the end. But however, everything that takes place in between changes from person to person, just based on their life experience that they have going on. But the objective is just to get them in tune, and that's one, to deal with seeing what their patterns are, to help them break the patterns. And two, one of the most important things is getting connected to your inner child, because people don't stay connected to their higher self without the inner child, because those two are integrated as one.
Exactly.
And that helps them grow and do whatever it is that they need to do or want to do.
Yeah. I know you do a lot of inner child work with people, and especially with what's going on now, I'm sure you're just literally have people flooded, or you're constantly. I know I have people in my inbox a lot right now, and even healers are like, "Oh my gosh, we're all kind of going through," and it all kind of goes back to our template of when we were born, and how we were raised, and how things happened, and how we perceived it, and that telling that inner child you're safe. I just love that you do this for people. It's so needed.
Thank you. I'm very particular. I only do so many at a time, so that way I can kind of give my all to that. I do kind of keep a little bit of a waiting list. I mean, as soon as a position, is open, because I'll work with somebody as long as they need me.
Right.
I've worked with people for a month. I've worked with some people for 6 months. I had one gentleman that I worked with for 9 years. Not 9 years, 9 months. I'm sorry. But that's the longest I've gone. But there was a lot of severe things in that. But as long as I keep it right about 7 people at a time, because that's twice a week, that's 14 hours. And I've
That's a lot.
in just for that kind of work outside of my lives and my personal readings and my job.
But don't you work full time too, sister?
Yes, I do.
Like, do you sleep?
A little bit,
My
yes.
minds want to know. Do you sleep?
Yeah, I do about 5-6 hours a day.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
but I do work full time. I actually have 2 jobs, but right now one of them is not. We're kind of out of commission while I
Right.
cook a community meal at a church, and we haven't been able to do that since this whole lockdown thing. So hopefully that'll start in the fall. But yeah, I mean, but I also do it on the weekends too. So it's really spread out when I meet with people. It could be 9 o'clock at night, it could be 7 o'clock, it could be 5, it could be 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So when did you notice you had these gifts? Do you think you had them all your life, or was it kind of something that woke up? Tell us what happened. Tell us about when did you notice it?
well, it's kind of weird. Everybody's is, isn't it?
No, we all want to know. That's why we're here. We want to hear the story. Give us the juice.
For a long time, I didn't realize that it was any kind of gifts or anything like that. I didn't really realize what I was seeing as a child was bad. Well, I knew it was bad to my family, because they had kind of put me in a place to kind of, test me and stuff like that. And which was a crazy experience. They did a lot of keeping you up all night, and then doing the little things on your head, and just all kinds of different tests and stuff like that, because I was seeing people. And but I never thought much of that after I got a little bit older and got out of away from home and stuff, because I did leave home at an early age. I left home around 10 years old, and did the streets and stuff like that. So, but I always had that knowing, you know what I mean? It was like,
yeah,
you take that step or go that direction, and it's like, no, you hear it really loud. And
you're like,
and I just kind of kept it to myself. I was like, I don't know what that all is. But and it just kind of stayed with me. Now, when my mother passed away, I was getting ready to go to her funeral. And that was a big transformation time for me, because of my history with my mother, and then to turn around and help my mother, through the cancer process. And but I was getting ready to leave, and boom, I just fell out, and I ended up in ICU. A piece of my colon broke. I went through 2 years of just back-to-back surgeries and different things like that. And I was seeing and hearing a lot of crazy things, which I really thought was off the wall. But I got better, and then my husband got sick, and in 4 months, I had to put him in hospice, and he passed away. And so with that, and then 5 months later, they found my brother, and I had to identify him after he'd been passed away for a little over 2 weeks. And so I was kind of like, all right, this is it. I'm done. I want to check out, I'm tired, and it was just piles of feathers, different places. It's kind of, like literally piles of feathers, like at the front door, outside the car door when I got out of the car, at the back door.
That's right. You were telling me your husband was leaving feathers everywhere. I remember. Yes.
Yes. And I had walked by the microwave, and, as couples, we kind of like, why do you do that? And so he used to leave the lid to the lid that you put over the plate in the microwave. And you would always heat something up and then leave the lid outside. And, I used to get on to him about that. I was like, why don't you just put it back in the microwave? And so I'm walking by the microwave and I see that sitting on top. And I'm like, well, what the hell is that? And I opened it up and there was a feather on the inside. And I was like, shit.
Okay, hello. I hear you now, right?
Yeah. And then I go to my office to go to work. And there's a feather on my keyboard. And I was like, okay. So and then my son, saw all the feathers and he said, well, Mom, I'm hearing Dad. He talks to me. I was like, okay, we've got to really kind of start checking things out. So
yeah, what's really going on here?
Yeah. And there was all kinds of other things that ended up happening, but I started studying. I took courses. I read everything I could put my hands on. I went through the meal of all these groups that I'm a proofreader in now with readers, being the person on the other side.
Right.
And
right. You know what? I want to touch on that because that's important, because you have brought that up. We've talked about this privately, about you were saying that person on the other side. You were that person on the other side asking for a reading. So you really understand what people out there are, what it's like. Exactly.
And that's why, like with my mediumship, I take it very seriously. I don't, I'm going to give you things that there's just no way. I'm not going to sit here and kind of describe a little short gray-haired lady, it's going to be specifics. If the spirit won't give me specifics, I won't talk, and I'll just cut it off, because that's what it has to be. You have to have that intimacy of that conversation. And I went through my share of people being on the other side and feeling that desperation of wanting to connect to someone, and all they could connect to or kind of get close to was my mom or my brother, but nobody could tap my husband. And it was very, very, very frustrating. And then when people say they would, they're just like far left, and it's like, okay, thank you, but just blew that money out the waters, So I kind of got frustrated with it. And I said, I'm going to do this myself. And I had to learn a lot of hard knocks and a lot of hard lessons in learning, because of, mediumship. I wasn't expecting the physical aspect of mediumship to have such a great impact, because I hadn't seen that on the lives and the things that I'd gone around and saw other people do. So I had no idea that it would have that kind of effect. But once I got that under control, because that's very painful, when you feel, you feel it for a couple days, you feel shot or whatever. But yeah, I know I truly understand that. And that's why I, try to be as, that's why I do a lot of giving in my lives. I'm always giving out, some free messages, some free cards and stuff. And the donation thing is just there if they want it. You know what I mean? the lives, and I won't do any kind of paid mediumship on my live. Anything paid is private one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but you're also getting, you know, a period of time. But the reason for that is I went through a period, I kind of listened to somebody, and I went through a period of trying to do that, pushing for that, making money on my lives, and it just plummeted, and I didn't feel good about it, you know. And I mean, yes, it's good to make some money on your lives, don't get me wrong, but it lost that touch of giving. So I went back to my low donation, where they can donate whatever they want, but at least $10, at least, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, everything else is, you know, me giving back, and that way I can give to the people on the other side, because I know what it's like to be that person and not have that money.
Exactly.
Now, as you were developing your gifts and really exploring them, did you have a lot of support from others, or was it something that you were kind of left with on your own?
No, just my son. Just my son was my only support system. My daughters thought I had lost my mind. They were really worried about me, you know. I don't know about my sister. She didn't really say anything. She wasn't yay or nay. But I have certain friends I know that they know, but they don't want to talk about it. And then there's some friends that found out that have nothing to do with me. And I kind of stay that way to this day. I mean, I have some friends in the spiritual community, but I stay to myself because it's the support. I don't see a lot of it in general, no matter where.
Right.
So
Right.
I just, and that's okay. I mean, I'll take a handful. I'm good with that.
Well, the smaller your circle, generally, the stronger it is.
Yeah.
So that's the nice thing, is that when you work with a trusted group of people, you can then trust everybody in the group, so it makes it very comfortable and it's very open. What I've noticed with working with Stacy and Thomas and Francisco, the way we're getting the same things now. Like, we'll talk in the mornings, and one of us, like, it's almost like a group channel where you're all pulling from the same source, the same information, and you really get into that sync, and it's very supportive and helpful. So
yeah,
I think it's definitely it helpful to have that support system around you. What were the biggest challenges that you found when you were deciding to do this? I know you mentioned like the lives, and I far much enjoy when I am sitting here and I get bored and I just grab a couple decks and go live and just no PayPal, fun, read cards, and then jump off. And those are the ones that are really fulfilling for me. But what were some of the challenges that you hit when you were, opening this up?
I think the biggest challenge for me, and on a personal level, just because I do have a relationship with God, and I wanted to make sure I didn't piss God off. Yep. That was my main thing. Yeah, so making sure that what I was doing was okay, and getting those clarifications, downloads. I think the biggest thing for me, other than to control the physical aspect of it, of the mediumship. So, I mean, it got pretty scary, because that's almost to the point where the spirit can jump in the body. And I didn't want that, you know what I mean? I know that it's one thing when we're channeling certain angels or things of that nature, but when you're doing it with random mediumship, it can be very, very physically painful. And so that was a big lesson. and kind of learning my ropes around the spiritual community. You know, really knowing the groups and the people. You know, and learning that there was so many different ways, because I was learning one path and then, wow, there's so many other paths. So,
It's like, oh,
yeah. So it
so
was
many
like, that
different,
was a
and
big
then in the
challenge.
past, there's facets in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like being able to, you know, diversitize and mix with all things, even the things that you didn't want to be a part of or agree to, you know what I mean? But still make peace and be able to work alongside. So those were big challenges for me.
It's definitely been
Definitely.
a learning experience, don't you think, Matt?
Yeah, no, that's it. It's what I found with the community when I come in was um it was very cliquey, like
Yeah.
not to, and that was kind of a problem. It was like
I was shocked
and
about it.
that's why loved I love the idea of this show, because I have, like, since I was younger, I got readings, but I was getting readings more to watch the reader, to learn from them, to understand how they were doing what they were doing, because I was curious. The information was wonderful, but more it was learning their process. And I think that's one thing. Everyone is so different. Everyone interprets and feels it so differently. So it's hard when people say, "How do I develop my gifts?" Because it's like your process with the inner child, where you directly work with that person and it's spirit led. And that's really the way it has to be, because there's no, okay, here's the manual and you just follow this, because it won't work. Yeah, I mean, everyone has to really feel through in a way they're comfortable with. So um,
Plus, I
that's where
always
I wish
say,
it would be a little less clicky, because there's so much, we all grow together, and the more you're not giving anything away or losing it. When others learn from you or expand, it just, the way I look at it is, it brings the vibration of everyone up a little bit, which takes the pressure off the all, the people that are working towards that. So
Yeah. Most definitely. You got to remember, now I was somebody asking for readings, and now I'm developing to give readings. You talk about some pushback. You know, who in the hell did I think I was? And I was tested. I was tested. Like when I would test for a group, I would get tested like 6 or 7 times just to prove myself. And I knew that that's what it was, because they had saw me. You know what I mean? Because I had been in the groups for about a year, and now, a year later, I'm trying to read, and they're like, "Well, who does she think she is?" And I understand, but man, and even to this day, I never fall into any little cliques. That's why I kind of said I stay to myself, but it is very cliquey. And the main thing I think people wanted, I wish I'd known about connecting to my higher self, and some of the protecting and the grounding and some of the basic stuff before I jumped into it. And that's what I try to teach people now is, start with the basics. So many people learn to open up, and then, then they realize, or they'll have blocks, or, they'll have, triggers and things of that nature. And why? Because you didn't deal with the fact here when you should have been dealing with this and getting this developed before you opened yourself. Because once you're opened up, spirit knows you're opened up, and they, not all spirit is good spirit. Okay. And so they know what to play. And so that's why sometimes certain situations will affect somebody deeper that is in the, that is a reader, because they're more open, right? So those kind of things I think are really important, and just getting people to look. You gotta get connected to that inner child so you can stay connected to higher self. You stay connected to higher self, boom, you're connected to source. You're
Yeah.
unstoppable with that.
How do you how do you develop your gifts? You have to clear your shit up and get
Exactly.
connected to your higher self, because I noticed, because I really started cleaning up my stuff even deeper. I got really deep in the sandbox in the last year. Even, and you helped me with some stuff too. And I would call you and I'd be like, so guess what just happened to me? And this never happened. But I've given you those calls. I'm like, have you ever had this? And it's because we're clearing some stuff and we're
Yeah,
opening our channel up. But everybody wants to just, how can I be a medium? How can I see the future? And then they tap in for a minute. And then 3 months later, they're like sitting in the corner going, oh my God, because they're not, be careful what you ask for.
exactly.
And
And I think it's very important to be respectful to spirit. I mean, I know I kind of get teased a little bit in the community, but I'm very particular about, how I pray and I bring spirit in. And I've accidentally forgotten and started, and I've had where I can't even speak a word. Spirit has shut me down. Like, wait a minute, lady. That's not how we do things here, And I was like, oh. But what the good thing about that is that I kind of look at like spirit, you're inviting spirit to come into your home. You're inviting them to come to you. So be respectful, just like you would if somebody came into your home, and have your area clean, meaning, whatever way that you like to clean, whatever your little deal is, and be respectful with it. And then you will draw in the right energy. But if you are just, kind of, oh, I don't care, and I'm going to, hoop and
okay.
holler, and just all this other kind of stuff, then what ends up having is those lower level energies, because you're vibrating at that level. Because higher vibration will not come down there. You know what I mean? So you
Right.
attract. And I think that a lot of people that are getting into spirituality don't realize that and kind of miss that mark. And it takes some attachments or different things to have happened to them before they kind of like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I'm not doing this correctly. And luckily I didn't have to deal with that, but I have, seen a lot of people that have. And, I'll talk with them and tell them, hey, if you just change this up and get you some kind of rhythm of respectful thing on a consistent basis, watch how different your connection to spirit will be. It'll be off the chart.
Exactly. Yeah. You touched on for a minute some of how you do mediumship, or in maybe you could share with us some of your profound experiences maybe with us, like, because it's always, I love to hear about it,
Yeah.
share something that you can share with us, because I know that one thing I really like about you is you have so much integrity with what you do, which I don't see a lot out in the spiritual community, to be honest with you. I've seen you do, myself, because we talk privately. I can't talk about that. That's client confidentiality. And I have to give so much applause to that, because I think that we fail in our community to realize that we kind of need to keep some confidentiality, because we're involved in some pretty deep stuff. So that being said, can you share any kind of profound experience, or maybe something that happened to you,
Yeah. Sure. I can only share what I've done on my lives. I think every time I connect to a suicide is very profound. That's probably the most profound connection. You say that in so I'm doing a live with a lady. I guess it was about a year ago, maybe, and I'm doing a reading for this girl, and spirit steps in, and it's her mother, and and I'll share this only because it's on the live. And the mother is remorseful. The mother, you know, she has her, but it was because of the abuse the mother allowed the child to suffer. And she showed me those things, and it really brought a lot of closure for that person. That's the one thing that's kind of cool is the closure that it can bring. One lady I helped find her daughter, and her spirit there was like a hurricane in that area, and her daughter was kind of not doing really good things with her life at that time, and got caught up in the hurricane. And because of that, she was afraid to let go and go with spirit. So she was still stuck underneath that little log in body form, but not in, you know what I mean? I mean, but I actually called upon several people that I knew and asked just to hold space and energy with me as I got taught that spirit to come out. And that was very, very profound, because the mother was able to go to that spot that I had described and get her daughter and get her cremated.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's probably the most profound thing.
Have you ever worked with
it
the
still
police?
gives me goopy.
I know, I'm like, whoa.
But it was amazing, and I couldn't have done it without the other supporter of, you know, some of the people, my team, a lot of my angels, and a couple of readers came in and held space and gave me energy to do that. But I love it when they give me something. They always, not always, but majority of the time, they'll give me something that they like to eat. So I'll smell something, taste something, you know. I'll hear their favorite song. Just little things like that I think are really kind of special and unique, and really brings about closure. The main thing is being able to make that connection, say, okay, you saw that I made that connection. You just validated my connection with your loved one. Now you know they're not dead. So now we need to get out of the grief pit. Now we need to pull ourselves up and not go into that deep depression that you're in. We need to come out of that, because you know that they can be connected to. So you'll be able to feel and hear them, but only if you come out of that pit. If you stay in that pit, you're never going to see anything. You're never going to hear anything. And so that really helps heal people, you know, and kind of get them out of their depression state.
Yeah, I like the idea that you brought up integrity, Stacey. One thing that I know, I took a lot of neurolinguistic programming, NLP courses, and one of my fundamental beliefs that as a reader is that it's our responsibility to address problems and provide solutions, because we are to send them on a better path. That's the idea, because the future is always fluid depending on the decisions we make. So what we tell people, and I think that the integrity part of it for me is about, I became very, very conscious of every word that come out of my mouth in readings, because I remember being the person going for reading and how excited you were, and then listening to that tape afterwards, you know, a week later or whatever, and hanging on certain things. And really there's a responsibility and a half in the person, because they're studying what you're saying. They're in a lot of cases. So it's, to me, it's that's why one of the reasons I get into NLP was because we're like counselors to a degree, and an effective reader is anyway, or because they should provide that. The idea is that a person gets better from the information that you give them, or their life is positive from, you know, that spins it, that it gives them a different option rather than well, here's what you got, you know, and then,
Yeah.
but the integrity part of it is really important. And I think that one thing we have to acknowledge is the weight that people put on what we tell them. And we have to remain conscious of that at all times. And that's one of the things I like about the way you do the readings and the way you hold that back, because it is very private and personal. So
I really believe that our job is to really show people their own light. I mean, I know it's said a lot in the community and there's memes flowing around, but to really do that, it's not about, okay, this is a regular customer and I know they're going to come back to me every single week. You're coming to me every single week for a reading, you're not going to get it.
yeah.
That's just not healthy. Right? It's just not
Agreed.
just like with a mediumship. If you get a mediumship from me, you're not going to be able to book another one for at least 30 days, maybe longer. It's not healthy. And I think that unfortunately there are some that are just looking at the dollar, and they're giving people what they want to hear, or just enough to scare them to make them want to come back. And
Yeah.
that's a shame, because this is really to teach people to be the best person they can be, and to actually not read the book. No, don't worry about what the book says about the card. What is spirit telling you about the card? What is designed for that person? What Because I could pull one card and it may mean one thing for you and a totally different thing for Stacy. But if I'm just reading it from the book, then it's going to mean the same for both of you. Well, that's
Yep.
not reading. That's anybody can read a book. What is spirit saying to you, touching your soul to touch someone else's soul to make their life better? That is really what we should be doing. And it is. You said that, and it made me think of something, because you had asked about profound, and then he mentioned that there was a lady I did a mediumship for, and she had tried to kill herself previously because she had gotten a reading before that, and she was told that her son blamed her. And the whole reading that I had with her was like, please stop blaming yourself. Please stop. And I'm like, this is a big thing. And she goes, yes, because after I had that reading, I tried to commit suicide. So people don't really understand. We have the power to lift people, and we have the power to eliminate people.
Amen, sister. Amen to that.
And I don't think people really understand that, especially with relationships. That's kind of like my peppy. You might want to really think about getting a relationship reading from me before you come and get one.
Do you really want to know?
Because it's not set up to give you all this gibble thing. If it is that kind of relationship, great. But if it is, then you wouldn't be coming to me.
Exactly. The simple fact that they're coming to you tells me that there might be some issues.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I tell them, because I'm not gonna feed that, because that's not empowering you. That's weakening you. And it's no better doing that in the community than what we see going on out in our country. You talk about people being suppressed and or whatever, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's just on a psychological level, in a spiritual realm.
I'm seeing it on massive levels right now.
Yeah.
Totally.
So that's why it's good for, people that do work and respect this industry to really kind of, we need to really step up our game and really, do more energy work and helping people kind of integrate and be able to handle what's going on, instead of being like that and suppressing people.
Right. Because at the end of the day, everybody can do what you and I do.
Exactly.
And the template that is in existence now, when I came into the reason why I stayed out of spiritual community for years and stayed solo was for the simple fact that I believe a lot of readers and people out there were so much in it for the money that they were having these people, you need to come see me every 3 weeks. And I'm like, if you need to go see your psychic every 3 weeks, you have bigger problems, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because at the end of and when I get a client, I'm like, at the end of the day, I hope you don't need me in a month or two. It depends on how you are, you know. But at the end of the day, you can do what I can do. And I get so upset when people call me and they're like, well, somebody said I had 3 attachments, so I need to pay 4 more for that removal, and they're going to give me a spell, and then they're going to do me another and I'm like, what? Huh? What?
Yeah, that's
I mean, yes, there has to be some sort of energy exchange, and yes, you need assistance. But at what point are we peddling our crap and not assisting the collective as we're supposed to be? So I have seen you out there you are boots on the ground, girl. You are. And I don't know if a lot of people know this. You get out there, you walk your walk, and you talk your talk. You're not one of these people that just sit behind there. I see you up in the black, BL. I can't really say it. I don't want us to get
yeah,
censored. But I saw you speaking out in public up there and
yeah.
telling your story. And I'm sitting at home and I said to my husband in that moment, I said, you know what? What are we doing? I'm sitting here and she's out there.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it was a little rake up call. Stacey, come on, get back out there. But I have to applaud you because you are out there. You just, yeah. And you get out and you motivate people and you're not afraid to say what you think. And we need people like that in our community. So thank you, sister.
Oh, thank you. You know, I went to that and I knew I was going to speak, but I also knew I wasn't for everything they were for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to be, and I told the lady, because she's like, you're going to speak, right? And I said, yeah, I'll speak, but you do realize I'm not for everything here. And I will speak for what I am and what I'm not. She's like, okay. I don't think she really thought, well, I'm not, and it's just, it's so important just to hold that neutrality. Not just say it, but really hold it. It's a big difference to sit there, in the comfort of our homes and say, okay, I'll be neutral. Yeah, it's easy to be neutral because you're there and you can turn it off. But go stand in the crowd and be neutral, that's hard as hell. But it's a great exercise. Let me tell you, it's a great exercise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have to do it every day or whatever, but you know what I'm saying? And I don't go down there every day. My objective was to take water and snacks and to show love and support on both sides. We took them to the police and to the protesters. So it wasn't one-sided. It was going to both sides, because at the end of the day, we are all one. And, that's what, if we could just get people to understand that part. But we have to show them, what does that mean?
Right.
When we say we are one, what does that mean if we're not one as spiritual people and leaders in our community? It really sounds kind of, you know what I mean? Like hocus pocus. It sounds like hocus pocus to the community.
Yeah, that's where I see the hope coming in. When you mentioned integrity before, what I'm noticing more and more is the people that are starting to stand in their integrity, it's more noticeable. Because when you're not, it's like holding a mask up. And it seems like everyone's mask is getting very heavy. And that's where, with the one side of it, when we talk about readers, I have a lot of hope because the general person is starting to feel things differently. They're starting that gut feeling is starting to become something that they're not able to ignore anymore. And the idea of, being the example is, I believe, where we're headed. We're all teachers and we teach not by dictating or preaching, but rather they look and they see the example you're providing. That's how children learn. And that's how we're learning. We're seeing the people that are stepping up and doing the right thing and the benefits from it. And people are inspired by that. So that creates more of the same.
Yes.
And with social media, that's what's being now put out there. It's not just CNN, NBC, MSNBC, all of these one company, but rather regular people going live and then broadcasting so that we can actually see what's going on in these things. And when people watch what you're doing, they see the integrity behind it because you are there. And that's, I think, the biggest difference. It's becoming more and more noticeable.
Thank you. I think with the I feel that we have several people coming up that have been studying and learning their gifts and doing the work, and just need that extra push. And just go live. Just go live. Don't hide behind the keyboard. Go live, because anybody can do readings, on a post. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but go live and break out of your shell and be who you're supposed to be. Like we said earlier, everybody can do everything, but not everybody's meant to do everything. I love to sing, but I sound like shit. I'm a horrible singer, but I love to sing. Right? I mean, I'm bad. I know I am.
You can't be that bad. No, come on.
Oh, I'm bad. Have you not seen me break out on my live? I'm just like,
okay, let's
I know
sing
my
now.
viewers are like, oh my God, no, please stop singing, Sonia. But that's okay. It doesn't mean I can't sing. It's just not my niche. We all have a certain niche. Mm-hmm. But you can still open up all the other things and not use them, but integrate them to help you with your niche. So if you're not a medium, that's okay, but you still tap into the ability to do that so you can connect to spirit to do your other work, because that's a form of mediumship in itself, because that spirit you're connecting with was once, majority of the time was, a human on earth, because you're connecting to your spirit guides. You connect to your spirit guides, guess what? You're doing a form of mediumship.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
It's a great way. I really am hoping that throughout this this time that everybody's had to stay home breaks people out. I'm not one of those people who say, well, I don't want, I hope people don't go live. I want all the viewers. No, I mean, people are going to come see me or they're not,
There's 7 billion people in the world.
I know. It's like, there's not like there's not like a certain amount, I had somebody I was with that would get really mad if I went live at the same time. And it really kind of messed up our friendship. And it was like, why? I don't understand. But, anyway, it's just those people that are wanting to get up. So you'll see me jump on people's live. They may have 5 or 8 people, and you'll see me interact with them. And I think a lot of us that have been around for a while could probably do that a little more and help support those people, because it's kind
of push them out. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get more people. We're always him and I. Well, I don't know if we want to admit this, but we will have a few people on our eye that we're watching, and we're like, this person is really good. We need to get them on here. We need to push them. You know what I mean? They got a message. Awesome. Let's get them out there. I mean, because basically that is what the whole idea of Preface, why we decided to build Trinity Network, was because we're like, you know what? We want everybody here. Because there's all kinds of people. Like there's all kinds of music. There's all kinds of colors. So we need everybody, and if we really are one, then let's be one. Come on now. Let's just quit pussyfooting around it. And, I was shocked when I got here. It was like playground, like in 5th grade when you go play on the playground and you're all like, I'm like, what is going up in here?
Just they gave you some candy and you went wild, huh?
I know, right?
No, that's good. And I think it's really awesome just to kind of even like my team, they'll get, they got cards or whatever. No, go post out in a group. Go. And I know that they kind of sometimes are like, wow, I don't want to offend you. No, you're not going to offend me. I'm going to be proud of you. If you turn out and be out freaking awesome and you were once working with me, that makes me so proud. That shows the effort and the payoff of my work. Right. Where unfortunately, and I've had a few people that I tried to mentor with, but if once the teacher becomes a student,
and the student and the teacher, and
oh my goodness,
talk
about some ego issues, and so I really, I
even the healers are healing.
Yeah, and I try really hard to make sure and keep myself in check that I never do that, because if I start doing that, I need to quit what I'm doing.
Right.
Because that's not helping. That's not healing people.
Yeah.
I think you just hit on one of the major things that anybody that's interested in opening themselves up, you discussed it a little more before, but before you extend that hand out and make that decision, make sure you're committed to that life of healing constantly, because that's really what it entails. Because it's something that I only really became conscious of in the last couple months, was without that, it's not that really you become stagnant, but you don't grow. When you do that work, when you do that healing, when you recognize those things, the gifts accelerate, and that's when really things get clearer and easier for you. But it's not easy work. Healing is never easy work. And most of it, that's why I asked originally about the inner child work. What I notice is most of the issues that I'm addressing in readings go way back to that original stuff. And yet it's like the medical system. We look at, okay, I have a headache, I'm going to take an aspirin. I'm not going to worry about the infection I have in my jaw that's creating the headache. I just want to get rid of my headache,
Exactly.
If we heal, you clear everything. So
and and I think some people are reluctant to that inner child shadow work. One, because of the stigma that it has. You hear shadow work and you automatically think that it's witchcraft or wicked or something of that nature. And I have nothing against whatever anybody wants to practice. That's on them. But that's not my cup of tea. But they think, well, I don't have, a traumatic childhood. Well, you don't necessarily always have to have a traumatic childhood. There's things that happen within the school system, relationships, your first sexual experience. I mean, it can go many different
I didn't
ways.
have a traumatic. I had Leave It to Beaver. I had the parent, but believe me, you still have stuff that happens to you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, what people don't understand is this is really a crucial time for change, not just in our nation and everything that's going on. I mean, that too, but something that we talk about, unconditional love, is not something that was talked about or taught before. Only, just a few parents knew about it and gave that to their children. So if you do not unconditionally love yourself, then somewhere down the road you got disconnected from higher self, and it always, I don't care if it's severe abuse or if it's not, it always stems back to that unconditional love. And the fact that we've gone generations after generations of not teaching unconditional love, that's why people think, well, I got a family curse. No, you don't. that's not what it is. It's the
You
lack of
only know what you know until you learn something new.
exactly. And so we have a perfect time to kind of teach people about unconditional love and get them to unconditionally love themselves. And in turn, that switch can help them with their children and teaching that, and then maybe the next generations and generations, because that's where I'm going to go. A year from now, you're going to see me working really big with children, because that's my intention of going with me and DJ, is to get that going for kids, because we are whatever age we are, and we're learning and healing, and we had to go through so much because we weren't taught how to embrace and use things to our advantage. So we are really a disservice to the children of this world by not sharing that information and getting them in tune and teaching them a proper way to deal with that and to use that in being able to use that to make decision making throughout some really turbulent times in their teens and things like that, and they can miss making some of the big mistakes that we did.
Exactly.
All unconditional love. Every single time it goes back to unconditional love.
It does. And I think too, that being said, with the unconditional love, the thing that my guides right now are really preaching to me about, hey, you want to get back to unconditional love, we need to give everybody some grace and compassion. And that's the road to that unity. They keep, I mean, like every day they're like, compassion, grace. I'm like, okay, I get it. But at the end, it's the unconditional love. And I think the templates get broken because you're either given, like, I have a lot of people who love is painful. It was taught to them. It was given in hurt. They were beat. So to them, love is painful. I have others that were never taught how to receive it. So, like, you're so right. If we don't even know, some people know how to give it, but they don't know how to take it. And then they blow up all their relationships, right? So
yeah,
we just, yeah. And then your son, I want to touch on that. I'm glad you brought up the kids, because your son is amazing too. I know. Can you tell I love her? I might be a little biased, people. Okay. I'm just saying, can you tell? Anyways, your son is amazing. And we've had personal conversations about him, so I'm not going to, disclose any of that. But you said something the one day about, he has gifts and he was being talented, and we got talking about how, the children of the world and how we need to change how we're educating these kids, because we're literally locking ourselves back right into the same thing, right? Which is kind of where you're going with all this, right?
Yes. Now, DJ's my son, so I have a little bit more leeway. I went ahead and woke him up. DJ's awake. DJ's very well aware of a lot of things, both good and bad, that goes on in the world. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that's for every child, but he knows how to, unconditionally love people, and I've been working with him on connecting to that inner, being able to go to that center. And that's really key for, children. He just turned 14 on Saturday. So he's going to approach, all those crazy things that teenagers do. And I think it's such a great thing to be able to teach children how to go back to their center and not conform to peer pressure and things of that nature, and know that they have angels on their side, and to know that they have these different things like that. And so it's really helped him a bunch. It's really helped him cope, because he lost a lot too during that time frame, from my mother and my husband dying. His grandparents, both his grandparents died on his dad's side, and an aunt. So he lost even more than I did. So he's really kind of dealt with that. But you can't push kids. There's times that he doesn't want to do, he just wants to play his Call of Duty.
And wants to be a kid.
Yeah, and that's okay. You know what I mean? You have to but you have to kind of give that. It's really important though, the grounding and just being able to make them slow down, teach them how to listen to music, teach music. You know, he's in band, and I'm so grateful for that, because band, any kind of music, we have to, music and art, of course, which is being taken out of the schools, right? But those are the most important things that parents really need to shove at their kids is artwork, art, whatever kind of art, just draw, whatever music. Don't bitch at what they like. Let them express themselves, and they will come out of it and go to something else. But as long as they're connected to it, it's good. So I want to eventually have it to where I've got some kind of program for children, you know, just doing by age groups, different little age groups, and break it down like that, and then have it to where they can have, you know, like Zoom meetings or something of that kind of like that, whatever, so they can talk and they can realize that they're not alone. You know, I take him to, it's called Warm Place, and it's on that particular night that he goes, it's for people that have lost a parent. And so they break them up by age groups. And I saw what a wonderful effect that had, because they realize they're not the only one, right? I lost my dad too, you know, and they're the same age. And then they could talk about it, and then they could express their anger. They have a soundproof room, you know, where they can punch a bag. Excuse me. But the point of being among other people and realizing, because that they're not weird,
Right.
that everybody kind of talks to themselves, right? That everybody kind of feels that from time to time. And that's the key with kids. And then spirit will just take over and do whatever it is that they need to do with them. That's my goal.
Perfect. All right, we're at that 1 hour mark. So we're gonna slow down or end the
Wrap
show
it up.
now.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Wrap it up, Tanya.
so yeah, but thank you for joining today. It was extremely insightful. I love a lot of the things you're doing. I love the talk about integrity. I think it's one of the most important things that we need to start pushing outward with. And I think that inspiring others with what you're doing, standing up and giving those talks and putting yourself out there, that's the way we teach. So congratulate, thank you for that. I mean, really, that's something that I've said for a long time. We are the teachers and we'll lead by experience, and that's what we're seeing. So thank you for that. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's such
Thank
an
you.
honor. It was so fun.
I know. Thank you.
All right. Well, we are back next week. Do you know who we have next week, Stacy?
B. Bradley.
Is it the 8th next week?
B. Brady.
B. Bradley, I thought we had next week.
Okay.
Mr. B. You got Mr. B.
Yeah, the 8th. If it's the 8th, that's what it is. So perfect.
He's on the 8th?
Yeah.
Oh, no, next week's the July 1st. The July 1st.
Francisco.
We have Francisco B. Bradley. Yes, we have a great week coming up. Next couple of weeks, we got Francisco coming on, and then we got B. Bradley on, who is a guy that I kind of been watching. And ladies and gentlemen, you guys got to tune in and listen to him. He's got some really great stuff too. So
totally.
Yeah, I watch him a lot too.
All right.
So
thank you, Tanya, for sharing your experiences with us today. It was, like I said, it was extremely insightful, and I think everyone learned quite a bit from it. We'll get a couple links up to your page so that people know where to find you from here on in. And it was an amazing experience to talk with you this evening. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much again, and I appreciate it. And it was an honor. And I will talk to you guys later.
Okay.
All
Be
right.
blessed.
So have a good night, everyone, and we will see you next week with Francisco at 7 o'clock on Wednesday.